Namaste and welcome to Satsang today. I can see that some are getting up very early and some people are staying awake very late. So I'm glad that you can be with us wherever you are. And as always, I just want to start with saying how important it is to kind of recognize why we're here in this satsang, in our awakening in general as well. We are engaged in the highest, not only the highest spiritual activity, but really the highest thing that any human being can do, which is to realize the source of all of this, to come to realize that you are beyond birth, life, and death, that you are beyond the body that you're using to watch this satsang. It's no small feat, is it? And also to recognize that we have already overcome a vast amount of what needs to be overcome, just even to be hearing these words, to be interested in waking up to the truth of who we really are, rather than completely caught in the illusion of being as someone moving through life, trying to achieve a degree of success and gather to us all the things that we need to try to be happy, still looking for happiness in the outside world. And of course, there's nothing wrong with that world. There's nothing wrong with relationships, and everything like that carries on after awakening. It's perhaps just that we are more seated in our authentic nature, and the happiness and the peace and the everything that we need is coming from the inside out rather than trying to get it from the outside in. So it gives us a kind of immunity to suffering, because it's not that we're not compassionate to the suffering of others, but we can't actually suffer then ourselves, because we're not needing anything from any experience that we're having. So that may seem, I remember when I first started to look at this, so is it even possible to live without fear, without guilt, without shame? Was it possible to live without suffering at all? No matter what happened to my mind and my body, it seemed an incredible thing that seemed so very far away. But really, when I got down to what the most important thing was about awakening, we really came down to two things, and that's what I really want to talk about here today, just to perhaps clarify and make it seem more available and simpler than we might have imagined. The first thing was, like I try to always start with every satsang, is to recognize why we're here, that we're here for this most important purpose that every human being is. Some aren't conscious of that yet, that they're on this awakening journey. They're going through experiences of being a someone, and the ups and downs and the pleasures and pains of that, of trying to get what we need from other beings, from our career. Our sense of self is defined by what we do and who we're with and all of those things, rather than from a direct seeing of something that is unchanging about us. And that sense of self that's derived from our identification with our career, with our role as a parent, with a role as a husband or a wife, a sister or a brother. It's very fragile, that, isn't it? At any moment it can get broken in some way. We lose our job, our relationship comes to an end. Even if we have an argument in our relationship, that sense of self is unseated, isn't it? It's very fragile. So we're doing the most important thing here, which is to come to that seeing of who we really are, that is beyond and before, not better than, just beyond and before that separate sense of someone that we usually spend most of our life trying to shore up, trying to make it feel more substantial. To do that, we must have, to even want to do that, to wake up to the truth, we must have already overcome a certain amount of illusion. to even begin to realize that there's something to realize means that we're coming out of this tangled, thought-constructed self that is really, that's all it is. What I think about myself, the world, and others is happening in the mind. So clearer seeing of who we really are is the most important thing that we can do. So number one, to remind ourselves how far we've already come, because the mind will tell us over and over again that there is a long journey ahead of us, a long and arduous journey. And I'm sure your mind's probably just like mine was. They were saying that it's long, arduous, and impossible for me. That it was ridiculous even to want to awaken. And who did I think I was that I could even want that, or should be able to have that, become that, live that? So I want to start as often as I can by reminding that we're almost at the end of that. The very fact that you're hearing these words, seeing these images now, means that you're already much further out of that illusion than perhaps you realize. Otherwise, you just would not be drawn to something like this kind of very direct teaching. Because this kind of teaching, like any similar teaching, it's not saying carry on down this road and you'll get there. It's saying you are already here. You've arrived. In fact, you never left. You've always been where you're trying to get to. And that it doesn't get any more direct than that, does it? And because of that, my mind is always going to be looking to put something further down the road, some other practice, process, something to keep you moving towards some future moment. That's what mind wants to do. So stopping every now and again, recognizing how far we've come already on this journeyless journey, that we're even able to consider the fact that what we have thought about everyone and ourselves and the world might not be true at all. Who we really are is something so much more amazing. That the possibility that there is only one of us has even occurred to us is some massive spiritual achievement already. And it's important to remember that, because quite often we flip back into the opposite of that, don't we? It's too far for me to go. I'm never going to make it. But listening to our mind, that can't really tell where you're at on this journey. It's going to tell you the opposite. So I'm here to remind you what's already so, who you already are and could never not be. And that's the second bit, is to, as much as possible, bring attention back to what is actually real about you. All of the problems that we have come from this false identity as a someone, moving towards something. And at first, the moving towards is worldly pursuits: a better job, a better career, a better marriage, a more healthier bank account, a family. All those things are wonderful, of course. But when we begin to replace those with spiritual goals and moving towards forgiveness and love and self-acceptance and even awakening, I'm moving towards that. I'm getting closer. I'm almost there. I'm moving towards that place where I no longer have any karmic patterns. And we're still in this forward moving mechanism that is our seeking. So one of the things that's good to do in Satsang is to come to see that we're already where we're trying to get to. Not that we have arrived there, that we are that place. We literally are the place that the seeking is trying to get to. Seeking's moving to a destination, or it thinks it is. And we are already that destination, not we arrived at it. Simply the fact that we are the destination we're seeking. So anything else that I could say other than you're already where you're trying to get to is going to be a waste of time, really, a waste of your time, waste of your energy. And all any authentic teaching does is to keep bringing back to that essential point somehow, in 100 different ways, maybe. And let's check in with that now. Let's see what's constant right now about our experience. What is it that's unchanging right now in our experience? And can we dive deeper into that? Because if we are suffering at all still, in any place in our whole existence, it is only one thing that is causing that, and that is we haven't fully seen deep enough yet, clear enough yet, who we actually really are. So if you want to follow along with this, we'll dive into a little inquiry and just coming to look at what's continuous and unchanging. What is here before our body arrived is going to be here after our body is gone, and is still here right now. And coming to recognize that aspect of ourselves that is never going to leave because it never appeared is the most important thing we can be doing. So what is it about this moment that's not changing? All these bodies are gathered here today, and whoever will watch this when it's uploaded to YouTube later, the same thing will still be true. The one thing that we're all experiencing that's constant is this moment. So if you kind of look at this moment that we're experiencing, what is this moment? Is it a thing? Is it something you can point to and say, there it is, I know, there it is? I mean, have you ever really sort of spent any time wondering about what this moment is? Where is this moment? And is it changing? And when I started to look like this, I realized that everything appearing inside this moment, all of these forms, including my body, these words, my thoughts, everything, everything appearing inside this moment is constantly changing. The composition of my body, cells are dying and being born right now as I'm saying these words. Hairs are falling out, skin cells, and new thoughts are arising, new sensations. Everything is always in flux that appears inside this moment. But this moment itself, is it changing? Because we need to find that thing that's unchanging so that we can take refuge there as that. So that even when the body has gone or is going, there won't be any fear. If I come to recognize I am this moment, I'm not someone appearing inside this moment, then there'll be freedom right there. I'm also playing as someone inside this moment, playing as that, pretending to be Helen for a while, enjoying that once I know it's not it's not all that I am. I can enjoy that then. That when the Helen show is gone, I'm still right here as this moment. I'm still right here as all these other bodies. I'm still right here as all these other things. If I am this moment, actually, then I'm also anything that's arising, taking a shape from the formlessness of this moment. Then I am anything that's arising. Don't worry if that isn't clear yet. Let's just bring attention back to this moment. Is it something you can hold on to? Has it changed since we started looking at it, this moment? There's a immediacy about this moment too, isn't there? A nowness, a right nowness about this moment. It's alive in its own way, isn't it? It's not something that's created. It's just here. And it's not changing. You can't see it with your eyes. And yet it is here because of, we can tell because of everything that's appearing inside it, this moment. And no matter what time it says on the clock, this nowness is kind of this ever-present quality, for want of a better word, of this moment. It always feels right now, doesn't it? When we're experiencing something, it's always right now. There's an aliveness, a reality to this moment, which is ongoing. Hasn't changed since we've begun this satsang. Hasn't changed. It won't change. It remains constant and ever present. And let's just look and see then what's appearing inside this moment. There's a body. There's a body for you. But is there a someone living in that body when you look? Because for a long time, I mistook myself to be a someone living in this moment, trying to be present, trying to stay conscious. When I actually came to look, I couldn't find a someone. There was just this alive nowness and a body and thoughts and emotions. There was no intermediary, so to speak. Can you find a someone living in this moment? And the only thing that was ever constant every single time I looked was this moment, this silent, still, everywhereness that is this moment. And I came to realize that I am this moment appearing as a human form, thinking itself to be a someone. So I am this intangible moment that's without quality. And then I am appearing as a human body inside this moment that I am. And as that human body, I get a little confused about what I really am. This moment itself, I'm free right now, constant and unchanging. So awakening for me was really more about coming to value that which was unchanging more than the changing. There's nothing wrong with the changing, but it's always going to lead us to fear. Because we'll fear if they think this is what we are when this disappears, that's scary. If I know myself to be something permanent that can't disappear, then it's impossible to hold on to any fear at all. And even if everything in this room, in this country, even if the planet itself, even if the whole universe disappeared, this moment would still be this empty nothingness, sentience, aliveness, nowness, in which nothing was currently appearing. Still be right here. So just checking out with me again, has this moment changed since we started looking? Is it coming and going? For it to come, it would have to take a form, be a form. For it to go, disappear. The form would have to disappear. Can something intangible and invisible, is it appearing? Can you see it? Can it disappear? Coming and going referred only to the forms, not to that out of which they arise, which is constant. Is it suffering this moment? Can it suffer? Can it believe thoughts? Does it have any karmic patterns it needs to let go of this moment? Does it have those? Is it on a journey anywhere? Has it just arrived because we're noticing it, or was it always here but overlooked? Does it even need to recognize itself this moment? Or would it wait another 100,000 lifetimes, bodies coming and going inside it? Is it even waiting? It's just silently present, constantly. So it is and always has to be completely free. We can take our stand as that. And as we do that, come back to see this again and again and again. This is what I really am. I'm also appearing as this body and mind in which there seems to be a process going on of clearing out of the old ideas. But we can just let that happen without identifying with it. That's just going on. That's something that's happening inside this moment. And I'm going to make my stand as this moment. Epiphanies and resistance and bliss and fear and shame and guilt and all of that is going on inside, unraveling itself while we watch as this moment, looking through human eyes. For me, when I first noticed this, there was something here really important. Here's somewhere where I'm already free. And it's not an avoidance of all that stuff that needs to be fixed about our life, changed. It's just a clear recognition. This is the best place to hang out, and all that stuff does get sorted out by itself. So one last time before we move to some questions. Has this moment changed? Could it change? If somehow this satsang went on for 10 hours, would it be any different this moment? The clock would say a later time, but the internal clock would say now, still, wouldn't it, now? There's something unbroken and continuous about this moment. This moment is actually eternity. It's not a moment and a moment and a moment. It's an eternal moment, or where eternity and moment mean the same thing. And there's no great trick to waking up, only to just come back to see this again and again until it's really, really clear. And there's no way to fail here. That's the good news. You are this moment waking up to itself. You're not a human being that's trying to wake up to this moment. There's nothing even to change over, just a seeing, just a seeing. Okay. I will read out some questions that are sent in, and I'll take up to 3 questions online as well. It's both 3 hands up. Dear Helen, how did you know that you should become a spiritual teacher? And how did you start teaching? Should everyone who has awakened teach others how to know their true nature? Or are some people just not meant to teach? Thank you so much. How did I know that I should become a spiritual teacher? Well, I really didn't know, actually. It just kind of started happening. And it started in a very small way. And it wasn't even really recognized as teaching. It was just me and a couple of friends meeting every Wednesday in a cafe. And there was cake, of course, and coffee, tea. And that just became a regular thing because it was fun and enjoyable. And then a couple of friends ended up coming around my house, and we ended up doing that on a more and more regular basis. And then I can't even remember, someone said that we should open this up to more people. And it became something, even though I didn't really want this, actually. It became clear that there was some capacity to verbalize this, conceptualize this in a way that's useful. But it seems to be that there are very few awakened beings that actually teach in this type of way. All awakened beings teach by their example. So kindness to some person that you meet, or being able to forgive someone, or not holding on to a grudge, or just when people feel kind of peaceful around you, that's the kind of teaching, isn't it? Awakened beings teach just by their very existence, but there is a kind of whole different skill set perhaps that the mind and body need to actually teach it in this way that this body's doing. So I think it's very, very infrequent that someone would actually start teaching in a formal way. And perhaps most teachers like that would be kind of reluctant. It's certainly been the lesson here is to overcome that reluctance to doing it. So yeah, I hope that helps. If you're meant to do it, it will happen, and you can't stop it. And if you're not meant to do it, it won't happen, and nothing you can do can make it happen. So hopefully that helps you just to relax into it. You're always teaching. You'll be the only person around you that can just let things be as they are. That's the huge teaching in itself, even if you never say anything. Okay, I'll read this next one, and then we'll see if anyone wants to ask anything live. Dear Helen, in January of 2022, I wrote to you asking about how to handle my husband's deterioration from Parkinson's disease. Your reply was in the video called "You Are the Revolution." I played that a number of times over these past months to remind me that my best path is authenticity. So I screamed, cried, laughed, and just kept dealing in the moment with whatever wild thing happened. And with my husband descending rapidly into dementia for the last 6 months, things got pretty wild. Just one example, I woke up and found him in the kitchen eating ice cream with the sharp end of a pair of scissors. Oh gosh. He left his body 12 days ago, and it was a peaceful passing, and our children and I stayed with him and loved him through it. Now I'm getting hundreds of messages from people who are so sad and sorry for me. They think I must be devastated. We moved in together the night we met and have only been apart for a day or two in 57 years. And all who knew us know we shared a monumental love. I feel one with him, and that feeling hasn't changed because he left his body. It's so good. My main feeling is one of relief that he is no longer suffering. Also, I'm enjoying the freedom of living as I please and actually being able to go out whenever I feel like it. I'm not surprised. Everybody says he's in a better place. And that has to be true because he had come to such a miserable state physically and mentally. But where is he really? Would you please share your wisdom on death? Well done for your very enlightened perspective. Of course, you miss him physically too. Of course, you'll go through your own process with that. And that's okay to feel that, even though you don't feel any difference in your connection with him. You said that hasn't changed since he left his body, because he left his body. You know, I know it does not compare, but I went through that process when I lost my cat physically recently. It was only yesterday, in fact. I was just saying to Claire before we started Satsang that I could actually look at some old photos and videos without getting a little teary. And yet, at the same time, I know he's right here still. That connection has actually even deepened. So he's in a better place. Yes, but has he just gone there now, or was he always there? So in his in your awakening, you're coming to see that you are everywhere. And so then is your husband. There's only one being sharing two bodies, well, many bodies, but in case of your question here, two bodies. And not all of him is incarnated into that body. There's also this individual soul or astral form, whatever you want to call that, a small fraction of which has come into the body-mind vehicle, a tiny little drop in a very large individual soul. And so he's in a better place, but he always was. And what you were really connecting with, that we've called your husband, is what you fell in love with, is the essence of him, that soul, isn't it? Not also the physical body and the mind that, you know, was the physical expression of that individuality, but the energetic expression of that individuality is still right where it was, right here. And I should imagine very close to you. And still, human beings value more than anything else the physical body interaction that we have. But even in an intimate physical moment with another human being, there's an energetic intimacy also on a higher level that's always going on. And you can still feel that right now, can't you? Still. And that's why that feeling has not diminished. Yes, it's very different now because you can't put your arms around him, his physical body. But the energy, the souls, the energy bodies, whatever you want to call those, are constantly embracing and have been for longer than 57 years. Who knows how many lifetimes you've had together. Imagine lifetimes as separate being, at least. So he's everywhere. And he's also right here, right next to you, isn't he? Still. And that's the fullest, richest place in our awakening, to be able to come to understand the everywhereness that we really are, this moment, as I was calling it earlier. And the first thing to appear inside this moment is this individuality that's learning and progressing as it tries on different body-mind vehicles, learns a little and then discards that body-mind, and then gets another one and learns and then discards. And like we would try on clothes. Yeah, I like this one. It kind of suits me. Not so much this one. This one's a bit, doesn't fit so well. Take that one off, put this next one on. The soul is kind of doing that with the bodies, isn't it? So the richest, fullest part, 99.99999% of who he really is still just as accessible. So he's everywhere and he's somewhere at the same time. A beautiful paradox it is living as an awakened being. The visible aspect of him, visible to your senses and perceptible to your senses, has gone. But he's also right here as these words in this body, isn't he? Too. And everywhere you look, you'll see him. So I hope that kind of helps. The soul never goes. It's constantly evolving, like an eternal wave on the ocean surface that's ever growing. And how beautiful that you still have that, and that will only grow now that he's not limited by his physicality at all. That connection you have with him will only deepen, as deep as it already was after 57 physical years together. It's just going to get even more amazing. My relationship with my father was often quite difficult when he was in his body. When he had a physical body, it's even deeper than it's ever been now. So I look forward to, I'd love to hear from you in another year or so before then, if you want to, just to hear how it's deepened, if you wouldn't mind. And thank you for writing back in, because it's nice to hear the progress of that and the process and how amazing you've done. But also, it's okay to be sad, isn't it? If there's moments of sadness and grieving, of course there will be. Something is different. He's not gone, but something is also different. And there'll be an adjustment in that process, won't there? Also, like you said, enjoying the freedom that's come from that, not having, his body needed a lot of help. And that takes its toll. And now you can have some time for yourself as well. You can sit in your meditation and connect with him fully more and more often. So thank you for that. So, okay, if anyone would like to ask a question here today, live, feel free to put your hand up. We'll take up to 3. Or I have more questions to read. Okay. I will read one more then, and then we will leave it for today. Dear Helen, so many thanks for the way you share about awakening. I hear everything you sent out on YouTube. I love you and your teaching so very much. Thank you. I love you too. I have worked with abundance, with the abundance thing for so many years. It is very exciting, I think. I do say thank you a lot and work with my inner state. And very much is better in my life, and I'm more peaceful now. But I still live as a poor being. And there is so much I cannot do or buy because of lack of money. And I still have to work in jobs I do not like. I have also a job a couple of hours each week that is very nice, but it still does not feel absolutely right. A lot of things are continually getting better and abundance is growing, but it's very slow, and I long for relaxing completely and living in trust all the time and don't try to figure anything out. I also long for a job that feels relaxing. I do not like when I have to prepare or figure out a lot of things. I just want to be and work from this being. I feel so awake a lot of the time, but this money or work thing is holding me back from completely falling into grace, into myself, into God, into trust, into freedom. It's difficult to explain because I do feel a lot of peace, abundance in some areas. I do feel awake in a way a lot of the time, but still this thing about money and work is confusing and hurts. Can you say that if I really trust and do not do something out of fear, then my life will fall into place? How to live or be what I see, I will get from the thing how to live or be what I see, I will get from the thing I believe I want or need. I hope this is clear enough and that you're inspired to say something about this. Much love. So I'm going to say something that might sound like it doesn't fix the problem that you're asking about, but it really will fix the problem you're asking about. And most of the time in my own awakening journey, the thing that took the most time was to realize I was trying to sort out the wrong issue. So I'm going to say here, you're trying to sort out the wrong issue. You're trying to allow in abundance more, speed up that process. And that is totally what I spent years and years doing as well. And it didn't work, or it worked extraordinarily slowly. And on the rate I was going, by the time I left this body at 90, whatever, I don't know, I might just be able to afford to buy everything I need and want some of the things I want at that point. So if you can step back from trying to do that and consider that maybe there's something else here happening that's needs to be seen. What I'm going to say is that it's not the money thing, the work thing that's holding you back. I want you to flip this on its head. It's the idea that you think you can be held back that needs looking at. That anything at all in the phenomenal world, anything at all in the universe can affect you, the infinite formless moment, the self, the consciousness, the awareness, whatever you want to call that. And when you experience your real self, as you say you are doing, it's not limited by anything, is it? And it's certainly not in a process. So mine says, when this thing out there goes away, I'll be able to wake up fully. And it really seems to make sense, doesn't it? That it really does. When I experience all the abundance that I want and need, then I'll feel peaceful all the time. That seems to make sense, but actually it's the other way around. When I feel peace all the time, my external circumstances will have to reflect that back to me because they're not external. They really are me also. All these other beings and things are me. So how do we come to realize and work with what I've just said? So instead of trying to change something out there, which we're still doing subtly, of course we want more abundance, but trying to change or allow in abundance is just keeping us identified as a someone that can actually do something to make that happen. If you investigate who you really are, and this moment was the words I was using to call you, that's you, that's one of your names, this moment, the nowness that you are. Are you limited by anything at all? Can you be limited as the infinite reality that's everywhere and formless? Can you be limited at all as that? It seems like there's this lack of resources that's limiting my experience. But really the crux of that is, I think I can be limited. Translation, I haven't fully yet really seen who I actually am. I still think I can be affected by something, a lack of something or a presence of something. So seeing clearer, what does it really mean to be who I actually am? Can I lose anything? Can I be affected by anything? Mind says, yeah, but that doesn't change the situation for my body and mind. Well, try it. Try making a stand as the unlimited and not limitable at all awareness, which is everywhere. It is the source of all things. It is infinite potential. It is no thing yet because it's unmanifest. And it is the source of all that arises out of it. You could create 100 billion universes out of the infinite awareness, the nowness, and still it would remain equal the same, infinite potential, totally unlimited. So just for as long as you need to, but definitely for 30 days, taking your attention off trying to change what's going on in your experience and just getting clear on who you actually are. Because this is one little tweak. Because when I realize I am beyond all limits, me, the consciousness, the reality, I will feel extraordinary peace, contentment, joy, love. Even if the universe disappeared tomorrow, I would still be right here. Unaffected, unlimited. And from there, that rock solid belief in who I experience, or knowingness rather, not belief. Our body and mind begins to vibrate differently from there. There's a fullness in being unlimited, a richness, a deep abundance of inner peace. And I'm spending some time with this because it caught me for quite some time, caught me for a long time actually. If I have enough of what I need, then I'll feel the way I want to feel, awake all the time, peaceful all the time. And it never works that way. I have to come to see who I really am first. And then from that comes infinite peace, abundance of everything I could want and need inside. And then that mirrors as my outer experience. When I feel fulfilled as I am right now, then life has to keep fulfilling me even more, adding to me. That's what Christ said, seek ye first the kingdom of God, and then righteousness, and all else shall be added unto you. And this is what he's talking about. Seek who you really are first. And if we still think we can be limited, or that our experience can change, then we haven't fully seen who we really are. And this is very subtle. It wouldn't occur to us that we haven't fully confirmed it. It didn't occur to me for a long time. I just got tired of feeling limited. I can't do, be, where, go where I want to. Can't see who I want to. Can't buy what I want to. And then I realized, hang on, I still feel limited. I feel finite. I feel small. I feel at the effect of something out there. And that can't be true for who I really am. When I really got this, everything turned around, everything. So hope that helps to kind of put it into perspective. And if you can get the problem that mind says the problem is lack of abundance, but it really isn't. The real issue is not yet deep enough in your seeing of who you really are. Really, really deep, but just a little bit more confirmation here needed. Can this that creates the cosmos be limited by anything? Not so much. Okay, so we will leave it there for today then. And thank you for sending in these questions. Thank you for being present with me today. Appreciate your love and presence. And we are always together, always. Thank you. Namaste.